Hi, friends, all over the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life. And today we're going to talk about dating analogy. So, yesterday I was coaching one of my clients about relationships and about dating and all this stuff. And this got me to the idea of how we could use the dating analogy for achieving everything else in life, especially if we want to be transitioning and especially if we're having a lot of excuses that we use not to be transitioning because of money, because of stability, because of not finding another fulfilling job, or because of not wanting to go back home, or because of whatever that we are coming up reasons why we cannot transition, even though we do want to do that. I suggest that you try and use a dating analogy. Now, of course, I also suggest don't use it in the negative way against yourself, meaning that, well, if I'm not really good at dating, or if I haven't had success in dating, obviously I'm not going to be able to do the transitioning either. I do not want you to be using that, but I want you to be using in the most useful way as to how resourceful and how energetic, enthusiastic, and everything else we get if we really like the person and we want to date that person. Right. So that's why I thought that dating analogy could be such a great way to look at the parallels of what we're capable of if we really want to date that person. So the way that I want to structure it is first look at the dating scene of what are the things that we do, and then look at the transitioning scene of what are the things that we want to be doing, and then see how we can actually use our powers, our abilities that we usually use for dating to get us to transitioning to the way we want to. And the only reason why I am using the dating analogy is because I find that in the dating scene, at least, I don't know about you, but my experience is that somehow we do not have excuses. We go for it. We really want to be doing things if we really like the person, right? So in other words, we know the ultimate goal and we just go for it without much thinking about it. Maybe oftentimes we don't even think about it. And that's not really what I'm suggesting, but at least I'm suggesting that let's tap into those abilities and powers that we have within us that we usually use for dating because of probably our evolution, because of hormones and many other factors. Yet the fact is that we have those abilities that we can equally use for transitioning. So let's start with the dating analogy of how the dating scene is. So imagine that you are into someone, or you like someone, or the someone asks you out on a date, and you go to that date and you really like that person and you want to continue dating and finding out more about that person. Now, whenever those scenes happen, we usually find time to do that, right? We don't just, I mean, unless it's absolute emergency, maybe, but we usually find time to be dating that person. We usually find time to be asking questions or staying in touch with that person. We don't really have the excuses or reasons of not going on a date because of money or because of other issues that we might be having, or we drop even our work if necessary to go to a date on time. We even finish and be very effective at our work so that we can finish it on time and do the things. We have this energy within us bubbling and I don't know, firing up, wanting to know more about that person. We are not really tired. We are not really confused. We are not really overwhelmed. Well, oftentimes I think that's how it is. At least this is, I'm mostly relying on my experience, but I'm sure you can also rely on your experience. We are not confused about anything. Of course, we have a lot of questions as to what will happen, how it may go, and whether that person likes us or not, right? So there are a lot of that questions, but still we are willing to go until the end and exploring and finding out how it is. And we are very keen to continue doing it, even if we think it's not going to work out, but still we will continue finding out until the end. And we are very hopeful, and we are even so good at explaining to us why it's going to work out most of the time, or even to an extent that sometimes we even create illusions. But and I'm not suggesting you do that, but still the mere idea that we are willing to explain in favor of the relationship happening, and even sometimes willing not to see the red flags or problems. We are just ready to go and be with that person and explore and try and build the relationship if possible. So you can see that in dating scene, if you remember back to how it was for you, or it's how it is now, or whatever the dating scene that you have in mind, where we have a lot of things in common, which is that we are very enthusiastic, energetic about it. We want to many of us want to show up the way we are. Other people want to show up their best selves the way they are, right? They are willing to go make everything happen in order to get to the result they want. They are not confused. They have a lot of questions, but they are sure that those questions will be answered over time. They are sure that there are some answers. We just need to find out one thing at a time. So we start pacing ourselves as well. So you can see that we have a lot of those, we rely a lot of those on those inner strength, energy of wanting to show up, wanting to make time, wanting to create the best out of it, wanting to achieve the goal of dating that person, being with that person, and all of this. I hope I depicted you a I don't know, a convincing dating scene. If your dating scene was not that, and you have another experience, think of any other activity that is where you experience all of these things that I have just talked about, and see and use that as an analogy, right? Now, let's look at the transitioning and how we are usually in the transitioning, right? In the transitioning, many of us are worried, scared, has thousands of questions, is not sure if we want to decide. We are often confused. We are often asking questions like, what is my identity? What is my strategy for having the money? What if everything falls apart? All of those doubts and fears and everything else come up. And I think what is missing in that transition journey oftentimes is us believing, us relying on that inner power, inner energy that says, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to show up in the best version of myself to get to that result that we often have in the dating scene, that I can think of many times, or I have talked to many people talking about it, right? So that's why we are, we have all of those abilities in this, I don't know, the only word that comes to my mind is power in ourselves, or within us, we rely so much on it on other occasions, but when it comes to transitioning, when it comes to actually getting to that life on purpose, the life that we really want to design, when it comes to that, we are so reluctant, or we are so cautious about it, and we are not really finding the energy, not finding the time, not finding the resources that we want, unless we're really cornered that we have no other options anymore, right? So we really get into this different energy of let's see if it works out. If it doesn't, it's fine as well, because I have my job here. But if it works out, then I can do it. So we make this sound like a secondary thing, or I don't know, a thing that somehow we hope that it will work out, but maybe it won't either. And we just give in into those fears, into those doubts, and we just settle in where we are, and we just think, okay, this is probably the best, then why bother doing something else? And then we start explaining things like, well, I am at this age, or I have these problems, and I probably can't get to doing what I want anyway, so why bother? Does that sound familiar? So you can see the energy that we have in the transitioning oftentimes is more of a suppressed or resistant or doubtful, cautious. And when it comes to dating scene, it's more like exuberant, energetic, enthusiastic, straightforward, direct, no confusions. Yes, there is overwhelm, but still we know that we can handle it. And somehow we, like in the dating scene, I think we rely a lot on our natural powers, our natural knowing, our natural trust that we're going to find out and see what happens. And then we will make something work. Or we are hopeful that something may work out, and we want to see how that goes. So that's why I just want to offer to all of us to take those abilities, or to awaken those abilities, awaken those emotions, awaken those feelings that we have when we are embarking upon a journey that is exciting, that's unknown, that's scary, that is doubtful, yet we also are so keen to find out what happens. And let's go and use that transition journey like that. Let's use the transition journey as that journey where, how can we create those feelings of excitement and curiosity and finding out if it works out and not, and if it doesn't, we know that we will find another way to work it out. We know that there is the person, like in the dating scene, right? Oftentimes we say, I know there is a person for me, I just need to get to know that person. And the same way with the transitioning journeys, where we are very, maybe we're not confident, but we are somehow within us trusting that there must be someone, or this must work out somehow. I don't know how, but it will. And we have that energy to move us forward, to be curious, to be getting things the way we want, and exploring how to do that, and then going afterwards. So these are the two scenes that I have just presented to you. And I want to now make it a, how shall I say, a step-by-step suggestions as to how you could actually implement it. and approach the transitioning journey not from a place of I don't really want to, I don't know what to do, and then being in your current place also like, oh, I don't want to be here, and then just being like this stuck person, right? Instead of putting yourself in that stuck position, let's use these abilities that we have, the abilities to create emotions, the excitement, the feelings that we want to create. Let's use that and then approach the transitioning from that perspective, from the perspective of working out, from the perspective of you achieving, from the perspective of imagining how that would be like once you achieve, what are the things would be changing, in what way, and how are you going to see yourself in that future, and then getting so excited about it and then start approaching it. So the way that I love doing for myself is, and I have done it for myself as well in my transitioning journey, is feeling really the power within you, like accessing that power within you and focusing on that power within you that says you can do anything you want and you can make any results happen as well. You just need to use that inner power to do that. Like in meditation, or maybe even just sitting and focusing on yourself. And then once you focus and you realize, like with your conscious mind, you realize that you have all the powers you need to create your life in the way you want to. How do you want to create it? How do you want to create it? Out of curiosity, out of excitement, out of just wanting to do things differently and not being attached to what you have now, or not being attached to a particular thing in the future, but just being curious and say, how would I like to live my life? How would I want to create this result? How do I want to show up in order to create that result? Who do I want to be to create that result? Right? Just have these different ideas and different imaginations of how great would it be to do that. And then once you have all of that imagined, how would it be, what it would be like once you have the transition, what you would be focusing on, what would you not be focusing on, what would you be doing, not doing, how would you be feeling. Once you know all of that, then asking yourself, what's stopping you? And then all the fears come up, and that's okay. And we just want to know all the fears, or all the excuses, all the reasons. And we want to just ask ourselves honestly, is this a valid reason not to have all the wonderful things that we want to have? Is this a valid excuse for not pursuing what we want? Right? So if we look at the dating analogy, if there is an amazing person who's waiting outside for us to come out and go on a date, and we have all these excuses of this is not going to work out and this is not going to work out, and then we could ask ourselves, is this the reason why we don't go outside and have that dinner with that person? Is this like a good excuse? Is this a good reason not to do it? If there is, absolutely go for it, but decide and consciously decide that yes, this is a valid reason because of which I do not want to go. The same, imagine that person, that transitioning, and your life after transitioning is downstairs waiting for you. And you getting all dressed up, getting all excited, getting all excited about, yes, there's so many things I don't know yet, but I will figure it out. I will find it out. I will make it work in the way that I want to. I want this type of relationship, and then I want to work on making that work, and then go to the date. The same way with transitioning. Knowing all the fears, knowing all the excuses, and then ask yourself, if those are not the reasons, or those are not valid reasons for you not to go on a date with your transitioning, then what's stopping you? Nothing, right? Because if we have created all this success in our lives so far, we are capable of creating the double or triple or more. We just need to allow ourselves to create it. And if we're not allowing ourselves to create the life we want, we probably should have a very valid reason. In my experience, there is no valid reason, because I love my life and I'm so happy that I have created it the way I have. And I would never think of any reason that would be valid for not having my life that I have now. And that's why I want for everyone to be also thinking in these terms is, if you're not allowing yourself to have the life that you desire, there must be a valid reason, and look at your reasons and see if those are really valid. If you think they are, okay, at least you have done your work, you have made your decision, and you continue, not keep thinking about transitioning. But if you think that your reasons are not valid, then let's come on that journey. Let's come on that journey of figuring things out, finding things out, making things happen, making the results happen, and most importantly, making the desired life happen. Okay, my dears, have a wonderful weekend, you all, and I will talk to you next Friday. Thank you.